let's get this off the ground. Hey, Facebook, let me know if you're watching this on replay. Put hashtag replay if that's the case. And excited to dive into a fun topic today that I know is going to impact your business and your life. But what's going on, everybody? James Eng here. And I wonder, can you fill in the blanks for me? Facts tell, stories blank. Drop it in the chat below if you know what the blank is there. If you've been in any type of business training, sales training, you know that stories sell. But I wonder, have you ever been in a place where you were scratching your head and wondering, how do I actually tell stories that sell? They say that stories sell, but how do they do it? Maybe you're somebody that you catch yourself in a place where you're going through a story and you get lost and you forgot why you're talking about the story. Maybe you're somebody more on my side where you struggle with just telling a story. You don't know what's important. You don't know what to say. You don't know the details. You miss it all and everything. Well, today we're going to dive into how to actually tell effective stories that sell, that convert, that'll make you more money in your business and your life. So that does sound like something interesting to you. Like this, share this, consider tagging someone on this and everything as well too. And we're going to dive into a couple of things. But I see Donna here. What's going on? Let me know. I'll watch the replay as well too, where you're coming in from. And let's go into this. All right. So I'll start with a story. I think that makes sense, right? When I got started in my network marketing business, and I aspired to become a speaker, because if you missed my last training, go back last week onto my YouTube and you can catch, I gave away the framework on how to get impactful, compelling presentations. I've already heard amazing feedback, people taking it, running with it in their presentations as well too. But I shared with you how I was so shy that I couldn't even order food at a restaurant. But I wanted to become more impactful. I knew that when you wanted to achieve a God-sized vision and you're in business, no matter what business you're in, but especially network marketing, it's a people business. So if you want to get more sales, if you want to have a bigger team, we have to be able to convey and compel through storytelling, through communication. And storytelling is one of the best ways to do that. So I remember asking myself the simple question of, how do you actually tell a story? And I was starting to YouTube things and I was starting to look around. And to be very honest with you, it was hard for me to find good, solid training on what it takes to actually convey a good, compelling story in a business context. Now, stories, of course, are important in anything that you do, but especially in business. The best speakers, the best salespeople, the best business leaders, whether you're selling a product or you're selling someone to join your business, or if you're selling a partner to be able to do something in your business, to sell a dream, to sell a vision, storytelling is super impactful. In fact, Jesus himself, interesting that he chose to speak in parables. Why? Because he knows the impact of stories. So if you want to be effective, it is of utmost importance to master this ability to tell effective stories. And over the last 15 years of being a communicator, struggling, finding it out, piecing it together, making a lot of failures, I'm going to share with you 3 things today that I believe that if you take and run with it, you will instantly start to have more confidence and conversion in your storytelling ability. If that sounds like something interesting to you, put a me in the comments below and let's get through this. All right. Now I can tell stories. Now they work. Now now I have the ability to share a story and tears are shed and things happen and sales are made and all that. And I'll tell you, it's a skill. If I can learn it, you can learn it too. So point number 1, when it comes to story selling, similar to my presentation training, if you missed that, once again, go check that out. But the first aspect of telling a great story is that you have to know your audience and you have to know the objective. Stories by themselves don't matter, right? It's not the power of the story by itself that matters. The reason why a story is impactful to someone is that it matters to them. Remember, every single one of us, whenever we're listening to anything, we're always thinking this question, jot it down. What's in it for me? We're selfish creatures. We're busy people. If you want to get people to stop the scroll, if you want people to actually pay attention to you, if you want people interested in what you have to say, we have to understand that they're there because they're looking for something to give them value. So you have to already begin with the person in mind and begin with the end in mind. All the story is always directed towards them. So, for sake of example, I might tell the same story, but it will be wrapped and delivered in a different way every single time. Good example. My one of my main mentors in network marketing. I remember every single Saturday he would give a training and he would give the same story over and over and over and over again. But you know what's crazy is every time it impacted. He mastered the craft of telling his story, but he also mastered the impact of telling it a different way, dependent on the circumstance, the audience, and the intention behind it. So the story is something that can wiggle around, but it'll navigate, it'll maneuver, it'll be different if you know the purpose of which you're telling it and who it is for. All right. So stories, if you want them to be converting, not just entertaining, but converting, you want to present something, people buy, people join, people do something. It's always about who are you talking to. So what are some things that you want to think about? When you think about telling a story, it's purposeful. Think about what is the problem you're trying to solve for the audience with this story. So today, for example, I am solving the problem of an effective storytelling. So when I tell a story, I keep that problem in mind. I'm like, all right, we're going to deliver on this. I'm going to make sure that the stories I tell will directly target that problem of the benefits of telling a good story and the disadvantages and consequences of not being able to tell an effective story. So I think about the problem. I also think about the solution. What do I want them to walk out with? What's the promise? Where's the end of the story? The key to not running off, by the way, who here's ever been around someone that just keeps on talking and they don't know when to stop? I've made that mistake. You know why that happens? Because we're not intentional. When we run off on a tangent and it does not land, then the reason it doesn't land is we miss sight of who we're talking to and we miss sight of where we're leading them to. Let's just put it this way. It becomes a selfish story. It becomes a focus where we just want to talk, which is okay. But if you want to lead, if you want to influence, if you want to convert, it's always about what's in it for them. So a good story that converts is always focused on the other person and how to bring them from where they are, the problem, to where they need to be, the solution. Does that make sense? Put a one in the comments if you're still with me on this. It's important that we start with the right framework there. Okay. Otherwise, let me give you the consequence. The consequence time is valuable. People will not give you many chances. It takes around 7 seconds to prejudge someone. So when we start, if we get someone's attention and then we share a story and then we run off and the listener starts to feel like they're disconnected, instantly they put up a block and they say, I don't know if I want to listen to this person more. Well, guess what? You spent all that time trying to get their attention. Now you have to re earn their attention. I'd rather have it, keep it, and continue to build trust upon it. How do you do it? Intention. That's it. As long as people know your heart is serving them, people will want to come back and listen to you. That's a big one. All right. So we have now the start and the finish. Number two, then we have the actual story itself. There is a way to construct a story. I'm just going to use a simple example of a testimonial. One of the most effective stories that you should always be telling in your business is your stories, whether it's a product transformation story, whether it's a business transformation story, whether it's why you got started and why you're doing what you're doing story. It's important to understand that there's a couple of key ones. Like I mentioned, my mentor that made millions and millions of dollars, the way that he did it was honestly, he just kept on telling his same story over and over and over again, but to new people. So you want to at least master that craft. Okay. So start to think to yourself, what's a story you want to master for yourself? What's a testimonial? Is it a product story that you want to sell something? Is it a business story where you want to recruit someone? Like, what kind of a story do you want to craft and master? I'm going to give you the framework now on how to actually tell this effective story. This is going to help you so much. This now I use and I train people when I work with partners and I construct their story. I use this exact same framework. And every single time they're like, oh my gosh, James, how is this story so amazing? It's your story, right? It's because there's some organization. All right. 3 parts to an effective testimonial. And I'd submit pretty much any story. There's a before, there's a then, and there's a now. Drop that in the chat. A before, a then, and a now. If you're missing any single aspects of this, the loop in someone's mind does not get closed and it becomes an ineffective story. So let's talk about this. I'm just going to use an example of getting into business. Okay. And let's say for me, I'm going to talk about my beginning story in business. And for me, it was network marketing. 19-year-old broke college student James. So, what I'm going to talk about in the before is I'm going to talk about a couple of the aspects of where I was before I started in this thing. For me, it's business. Specifically, label some of the problems. I'll touch more on this in a later point. But talk about where you were at. Talk about the struggle. Talk about the challenge. Remember, when we tell a story, it's to solve a problem. So this is where you can address the problem. So for me, for example, when I tell my business story, I tell people, I was a 19-year broke college student at UC Berkeley, and I honestly felt lost in life. I was a good student, but I felt like I wasn't equipped. I wanted to be successful, but I didn't know what to actually do. So I was searching for a way to be able to build out a way out just in case being a doctor was not the thing, right? So problems, I was lost, I was broke, I wanted something to latch onto. So there's my before. Start to think in your before, where were you? What were those problems? What were the things that you were seeking solutions with? People relate to your problem first. Okay. Then we have the then. The then is the pivot. This is when you introduce the solution. Remember, people buy, this is when you want to jot down. People don't buy a product, they don't buy a business, they don't buy a service. People buy a solution. If you understand that in business, you're in the business of solving people's problems, it changes the whole perspective. You're not there to sell stuff. Of course, the end result is you sell something. But the real thing that you're in the business for is you're looking to serve fellow humanity and you're looking to solve their problems. So, in the then, I'm going to talk about the solution that I found. So, I was broke, I was lost, I needed guidance, I needed something to latch onto. Then I got introduced to the idea of entrepreneurship, right? And things that I'll talk about in the then are, what were the things that really moved the needle for you? Like, what got you intrigued? How'd you feel? Like, what were the honest thoughts? But you want to bring them over the hump. Remember, communication is guiding them, it's leading them, it's going on a walk with someone. That's what communication is all about. So I'm going to talk about my story, how, I got introduced to network marketing. But if I'm to be very honest with you, I was super skeptical. I thought it was a pyramid and I didn't want anything to deal with it. But you know what happened? I met somebody that became my mentor. And I saw the person that he was, and that he was not just successful, but he was kind and he was charismatic and he was inspiring. And I said to myself, if I could even get to 10% of where this guy was at doing this, Hey, worthwhile. Worst case, I'll become a better person. Do you guys see how the then works there? So I have my before, I have my then, and then I have the now. The now is where you can share some of the updates of what has this done for you that relates to your problem that now you have an outcome, you have a result on. Okay. Now I can say, well, in the beginning, let's say it was like 3 months in. What I would say is, 90 days in, I am more confident. I feel more sure and certain about life. I'm making enough part time that I don't need another job while I'm going through college. It's allowing me to focus on my studies as well. Before, then, and now. That structure put in any type of testimonial in pretty much any single type of story closes the loop so that you can bring your audience member, the person you're speaking to, from their problem. Remember point number one, their problem to the solution. There's the point of this whole story. Here's another note to jot down. Never make a point without telling a story, and never tell a story without making a point. Our goal and our intention of telling this story is so that we can make these points. If you're still with me, put a 2 in the comments below and use this for the things that you're doing as well too. All right? Quick note on stories. Quick note and a testimonial. Some people say, well, James, I don't have much of a testimonial. My story's not that good. I haven't made that much money. I haven't had that much transformation. And let me give you the reality of things. It really doesn't matter. What matters is people see that you've made a decision to change your life. People relate more to that fact. They just want to see that you're going over the hump. In fact, sometimes when your story's too crazy, it's inspiring, sure, but it's unrelatable. All right. Now we might be able to say we've done millions of dollars of sales and we have thousands of people around the world and blah, 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 blah. I can see that. And yeah, it's impressive, but it may not even impact as much as that new person just saying, I was scared, I was struggling, but I did it. Look at me now. I am excited and expectant for what the future holds. Remember, people are more inspired by on the journey of watching someone go buff rather than be buff. They're inspired seeing someone in the process of transformation rather than only the final version. Now, of course, over time, you want to make sure you show some results in reasonable time. Okay. We don't just want to be a delusional land all the time. You want to move forward, of course. But I just want to give assurance that if you feel like your story's not that good, let me give it to you real. Every single one of us think our story sucks. Does anyone relate with that? Put a me in the comments if you've ever thought, my story's not that special. No one wants to hear it. I just have this Jill, Schmill, Joe, Schmo, whatever type of a story. The reality is this. Our stories seem boring to us because we live it. It doesn't matter what you've gone through. That's how we perceive things. But remember, God placed a struggle, a unique solution into your heart. And he called you to share that story with somebody. It may not be everybody. Remember, even in the Bible, Paul was called to not everyone. Paul was called to eventually talk to the Gentiles, right? So if you use the spiritual term apostle, meaning you're sent one, your story is for somebody. It does not have to be for everybody. Practically speaking, if you had 1,000 people that were in your target market, that were your best customers, your best partners, your best clients that you're looking for, who here would agree that if you could serve 1,000 of your dream clients that are just like you, that have the same problems that you can help, that your life and your business could forever change? You don't need everyone. We're not trying to solve world hunger here. You're trying to use your unique story to be able to impact a specific group of people. And then as you steward that well, guess what? Your influence grows, your stories grow, and then you can actually expand your reach when it comes to your story. All right. Case in point, I love following all different types of people. I love studying success. Alex Hormozy, if you watch anything online, he's like blowing up on social media as a business guru. He now trains business stuff everywhere, right? He has millions of followers and all that type of stuff. But if you know his story, he started in his niche of gym owners. That's where he started. And he was teaching gym owners how to actually scale their gym. He did that for many, many years. Now he is talking about business as a whole. So do well with what you've been given. Don't complain about what you don't have, but be grateful about what you do have. One customer, one partner, one person saying yes, having an eyeball on what you got going on. How are we utilizing that opportunity? And are we stepping into that, becoming more impactful? All right. Okay. So we talked about number one, knowing your audience and your problem you're looking to solve. Knowing your audience and the objective you're helping with solving. Number two, we're creating this outline of your story. I'd encourage you write it out. I'd encourage you record it. You know, with my own story, I've actually literally, the way I got good at it was I took a voice recorder on my phone, and as I was driving, I would say it to myself over and over and over again, and I would listen to it myself. And I think from the prospect's perspective, if I was listening to this story, would I be impacted? Because I didn't have an awareness of what I sounded like. I didn't want to hear my voice, and I thought it was weird. I'm sure some of us feel that way, but you have to confront that. It only sounds weird because of your voice, by the way. All right, so get over that. The way to get over that, listen to yourself hundreds of times, and you're like, okay, I got it. All right, so get and train that. And I'd also suggest ask for some feedback. All right, when you have a good outline of whatever you want to put together, your story in this example, submit it to a coach or mentor, someone you trust, and be like, hey, what do you think? Get some perspectives on that. It's always good to have a third party on that, someone that you trust. All right, you're still with me? Put I'm with you in the comments below. Oh, is this helpful? By the way, I hope this is like practical. Like I really want you, if you're listening to this, I believe you have a message that God's placed on your heart. I believe you have a call in your life, and I believe you've been anointed and appointed for such a time as this. But the thing that can hold us back from carrying out that message is a lack of skill set to actually carry it out well. So, my intention and my goal is that you can take this and have a sharpened sword so that when you do speak, so that when you do your business, so that when you are around people and sharing your message, you can, instead of impacting one, you could impact 10, you could impact 100. You can go on stages around the world, you can be in your team trainings, you'll have an extra edge so that you can really show out there. All right? Fantastic. All right, last part. Here's the big one. Here's an X factor. Man, if you get this in a story, you just took it to the next level. This is now where companies will ask you to share on stage. This is when you're going to be asked to speak in team trainings. This is when people are captivated and converting and doing something. This is how you can get your conversion rate. Let's say it's 10% to 20% to 30%. Every single great closer or seller or motivator or influencer is really good at this last piece. And what it is this: connecting and converting. Connecting and converting. How do you connect with your audience on a deep emotional level? Remember, we are logical beings, but we make moves based on emotion. We want it to make sense, but we also move based on how we feel. So, as a communicator, as a leader, as an influencer, as a storyteller, we need to be able to captivate and engage people emotionally, which, by the way, is really hard for me because I'm naturally a non emotional person. I'm the type of person that's an introvert. I don't like them feeling things. I had to go learn them, take them to school. But I realized that if I wanted to become impactful, that I had to learn how to engage emotions. How do you engage emotions? It's going to be a big ask. But the best way to engage someone emotionally and connect on a deep level is that you have to lead the way first. You have to become vulnerable. You have to be willing to share the deep, dark parts of your life. You have to be able to share the raw and the real and the transparent. You have to be able to share not just the good times, but the bad times and the crap times. You have to be able to share the hurts and the betrayals, the tears and the struggle. You have to be able to meet people in their pain. The best people to help someone else solve their pain point is somebody that's gone through that very same exact pain. Transparency, authenticity is a very, very big key. When I learned this, my storytelling went to the next level. So, with your story, how real can you get? Where are the emotions in it? For example, I'll just use a simple one that's a little lighthearted, but I talked about when I first got introduced to network marketing. And I'm straight up. I said in my story, I thought it was a straight pyramid. I thought it was illegal. I thought it was unethical. In fact, I remember at my first presentation, they had some product display. I knew I was saying no. And instead, I was a broke college student. So I went up to the speaker afterwards and I asked him for some product samples of these energy drinks so I could get something to take home at least because I knew I wasn't signing up. But I eventually did, right? That's raw. That's real. That's authentic. When I say these things, people automatically think this person is trustworthy. This person's just not putting up a show. This person understands me. Think about anybody that's a great communicator. Doesn't it feel like they know you? They understand what you're feeling. They understand what you're thinking. And the cool thing is, as a human being, we all share pretty similar emotions and thoughts. Be willing to be vulnerable to share those thoughts and to be able to convey that to the audience. All right. But how do you convert them? You connect them through the emotion, you connect them through the vulnerability, but you also walk them through the emotional journey of how to get to the other side. Don't stay there. That might have started there, but don't stay there. And then you can move them to the other side. All right. So, 3 points in effective story that will convert and sell. Know your audience and objective, create an outline, your before, then, now, and then connect on a deep emotional level and convert. Now, I end with the story. And when I finally put this all together, one of the worst times in my life, in my business, was we built up our business and it became a multiple six-figure business. We got on the stages, we were winning the trips, we had the cool life, the dream house, the dream car, like we're about to settle down and have kids. Then life turned around, business turned around. We lost 50% of our income in a year. We instantly went from surplus to massive debt, 12,000 a month of debt, credit cards piled up, everything maxed out, had to sell everything, moved into my mother-in-law's converted office into a bedroom. And it was the first time in my life that I lost hope. And I told my wife that I give up on our God-sized goals. I was done with it. Unfortunately, she spoke faith into me. I literally think Holy Spirit spoke through her that day and uplifted me. And we started to build again. But I realized that if I was going to build differently this time, then the first time I was hesitant to share struggles. I thought I had to look a certain way, be a certain way, be the leader, like impenetrable. But I started to realize God never hurts a pain. He never wastes a pain. So use the pain and invest the pain and sow it into a great fruit. So I started sharing that story about how it felt. And then I started sharing what we were going to do about it. We went through hell, but we weren't staying there. We're going to do something different. And I will tell you this, the more and more that I shared the story, the more deeper connection and loyalty and conversion that I saw. Because now people could say and see, James knows what I've been through. It's a different situation, but he knows the feelings. He knows the pain of losing everything. Maybe he can help me as well too. Hey, if he's so raw and real about this, but he's showing me the way, maybe I can trust him. But you have to show the next way. You have to show the example. And now, years later, I believe that our organization one of the big parts of the culture that I love about the team that we are honored to partner with, it is a place of transparency. It is a place where people are okay to be not okay, but also they know that they're going to be moving into a better direction. It's a place where people are willing to be vulnerable. It's a place where people are willing to shed real tears. It's a place where people are willing to have crucial conversations. It's a place where people know they don't have to be perfect. We are being perfected. And that type of an honest, real culture is such a much more compelling place to be at than a place where we pretend like everyone's perfect, knowing that everyone's not. So master these storytelling abilities, use them, and watch how your influence grows, your conversions grow, and your sales grow. So I hope that was helpful. Leave me anything in the comments below. If you have further questions or comments, let me know. And by the way, if you like this type of stuff, subscribe to my YouTube. Every week I'm going to give practicals, but I'm also going to give other aspects as well too. I'm committed to helping you succeed in your business God's way because I believe you have a call, you have a message. So if you haven't grabbed my course yet, I have a $10,000 course I coach people through. I put it together for free. I'm giving it to you. If you haven't walked through that yet, it'll teach you how to set God-sized goals and think His way and really start to discern the voice of God for you and your business and achieve goals His way. If you haven't grabbed that, go to jamesczang.com and I encourage you to grab that. It'd be super, super helpful. And keep on plugging in. This is going to be awesome. All right, let's go tell amazing stories and go impact the world. God bless.